Okay, so the other day I asked you guys on Twitter, what was the most underrated Sonic game of all time? What Sonic game is it that we feel like gets unfairly treated or doesn't get enough praise? And while you guys have given all kinds of answers over on Twitter, so I thought it'd be a fun video to go through all of your guys' takes and talk about what is the most underrated Sonic game. And of course, these are all just opinions of other people. I'm not disregarding anyone's opinion through this video. I'm just gonna be looking at it and giving my take on your take, you know? Nothing crazy, we're just having a discussion about Sonic, so why not get into it? Betty, I just started recording. Do not knock it over. Do not knock it over. Stop. I just started. Don't. Hey, Betty. Stop. No. God fucking damn. Don't get a cat. It's not fun. But of course, before we continue, make sure to leave a like and subscribe with the bell. Anyways, let's jump into it. Okay, for our first response, we have Caramel Smoothie coming in with Sonic Heroes. The game gets flack for having bad controls. Meanwhile, the bad controls in question is the player's inability to use the correct character for the correct scenario. It's also just one of the most consistent and fun 3D Sonic games. I'm not the biggest fan of Sonic Heroes, but is it because of a skill issue? Is it because the controls are bad? Well, in my personal opinion, I do think the controls are pretty bad in Sonic Heroes, but that's not really my main issue with the game. The thing that really kills the game for me is the fact that you have to play through it 4 times, and on top of that, I just don't like the level design at all. I think the level design's kind of boring and it drags on. It's just the same thing over and over again where you just swing up a million poles, fly up a million fans, and that's just not my kind of Sonic game. I like something new in like every second of the level. Sonic Heroes just kind of repeats the same stuff. For me, it is the definition of repetitive. So, yeah, the controls are bad, but I don't think that's the biggest issue with the game. Because in all fairness, Caramel Smoothie is correct. You can get around the bad controls by just switching to tails whenever you don't want to slip off an edge. Like if you're platforming or you're on a thin piece of land, you can just switch to tails and it is a lot less slippery. So they are correct. Like the bad controls argument is not the strongest argument when it comes to Sonic Heroes, but to me, that's not my argument at all. So in my opinion, Sonic Heroes is not the most underrated Sonic game. But I kind of get what Caramel is going for, because Sonic Heroes is like one of the best-selling 3D Sonic games, but almost nobody talks about it. Like in this community, we always talk about Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Adventure, Sonic Frontiers, but you never hear many people talking about Sonic Heroes. Despite being one of the best-selling games, it's oddly never spoken about. It's kind of weird. That might be because it's not very accessible. You have to play through emulation or the really bad PC ports, but that's about it. Betty, stop. We've already been through this. Stop scratching my vinyl. Hey, Betty, stop. Hey, chill. Do not have a cat. Anyways, thank you, Caramel Smoothie. Our next response by Hassan says Sonic Lost World. Sonic having a parkour mechanic fits very well with the level design, and while the game has the worst writing, Eggman's character is the only good character with a tone, and animations are really good as well. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this guy hit it right on the nail. Sonic Lost World is easily the most underrated Sonic game. At least in my opinion. I think Sonic Lost World is a great Sonic game. Maybe not amazing. Like, Sonic Lost World is not a perfect Sonic game. It definitely has some issues. I wouldn't put it above any of the Boost games or adventure games, but like, it is still a good Sonic game for what it was. Of course, it has its issues. The story kinda sucks. The visuals are ugly. It looks like some kind of classic Sonic and Mario Galaxy hybrid. It just does not work for modern Sonic. And overall, the game has just little issues that kinda brings down the experience. But I truly think, to its core, when we're talking about level design, controls, and the overall gameplay loop, I think it's a good game. I don't really see much wrong with the controls. I actually really like it, especially because the more you play the game and the better you get with parkour, the more fun the game gets. The parkour controls are so intricate, but so fun to get good with. Maybe that's just me. I don't know why, but it doesn't sound like a lot of people are too happy with the parkour system or care about it. But I love that, alright? That was like the best part of the game. And I think the level design complements the controls very well, in my opinion. There's a lot of cool pathways you can take when you actually get good with the parkour system. But yeah, I'm not gonna go on all day. I like Sonic Lost World. In my opinion, I feel like this is the most underrated Sonic game. Sonic Lost World is always getting bashed. Everyone hates this game, and I just don't understand why. Why this game? Is it because it looks like a Mario game? I don't get it. And I probably never will. Oh boy, spicy one right here by Fiery Uzi, who says Sonic Forces. People think it's bad because it's too short and its storyline and Infinite could be better. However, the concept was good and the avatars made it fun and more personalized for me. Okay, so I knew this was coming in the video. I knew somebody was going to say Sonic Forces, and we have gotten it. In my personal opinion, Sonic Forces is not underrated. That game is garbage, doo-doo, butter. I hate that game. By the way, yes, if any of you were wondering, that YouTube short was a joke. But, you know, I'm not gonna diss Sonic Forces for a moment. I'm gonna give it some credit. I think the concept of having modern Sonic, classic Sonic, and the Avatar, which was potentially supposed to be Adventure Sonic, all in the same game is an amazing concept. We get the best of all the worlds. And on top of that, I think the setting for Sonic Forces is great, if we ignore Green Hill Zone and Chemical Plant. Those levels are kinda ugly, especially Green Hill. It's just blocks and Green Hill again. But when you look at stages like Sunset Heights and Metropolis, you can't deny that these settings look great. But unfortunately, the gameplay does not live up to the environments at all. Like Sunset Heights, this is such a banger looking stage that it looks beautiful. This is one of the best Sonic environments ever. But the stage is so boring. It's not fun at all. Why did they fumble this? Here's what I'll say about Sonic Forces. I feel like it's a bad game, like a very bad Sonic game. But at the same time, I can see this community starting to like the game as time progresses. There are good aspects to Sonic Forces, and I think some people appreciate those aspects more than others. People love the storybook games, and I don't understand the love. Those games are trash to me. But here's the thing, you can't really stop someone from enjoying those games, which is kind of happening with Sonic Forces. Whenever someone says they like the game, everyone just dogpiles them and says the game has zero ambition. I could see this game getting a cult following kind of like Sonic Unleashed in a few years. Like, it's very possible. And I think some people need to chill on attacking others for liking Sonic Forces because, yeah, the game's garbage, but like, if they enjoy the game, just let them, man, let them live. That's my take. It's not underrated, but it might be to a lot of fans later on in the years. Speaking of the storybook games, we have one coming up, Sonic and the Secret Rings. Gonna be real, I went into this game expecting a mess that was impossible and rage-inducing to control, when at worst, it's just a little annoying. There was only one level that caused serious frustration. I do not get the hate. You may not get the hate, but I don't get how you played through the game and the controls didn't bother you. In my personal opinion, if you're playing on like actual hardware with a Wii remote, the controls are unbearable. The entire game is just a slog that is so annoying to play. I'm getting flashbacks, man. I had to replay that game a year ago. It was not fun. But I mean, I guess this is the thing with gaming. I feel like some people are not bothered by certain issues and some people are. Subjectivity is a beautiful thing, and I can't really judge someone else's experience if they had a good experience. But for me, this game ain't underrated. Maybe the story is good and the visuals are cool, and the setting, and the environment, the graphics, everything about the storybook games is a 10 out of 10, except for the gameplay. The gameplay ruins everything. Next, we have a response by JustMaxT, who says Sonic Freeriders. I'm not giving any reasoning. I have an illness. He didn't give any reasoning, so I don't know how to respond to this one, aside from calling the game absolute garbage. I mean, again, the main point of this video is that you can't police other people's opinions. You can't tell them what they can and cannot enjoy from a video game. You know, this might be the first wrong opinion. I know that's like an oxymoron, but like, this opinion is wrong. For our next response, we have Davron saying Sonic Colors by the fanbase and Sonic and the Black Knight by the critics. So I kind of like this response because it separates fanbase from critics, because the two groups have very different opinions on these Sonic games. To the fanbase, Sonic Unleashed is an amazing Sonic game. Some people might even say it's overrated, but to the critics, that is the most underrated Sonic game. Sonic Unleashed did not deserve a 60, you can fight me on that. So I kind of like that distinction, although I think you should have given more reasoning, because I kind of want to see your reasoning for Sonic Colors, because I think that's an interesting one. This is something I've noticed for a very long time in the Sonic fan base. People do not like Sonic Colors, and the main reasoning is the 2D sections and the overuse of blocky platforming. In my opinion, it's not that big of a deal. I like the blocky platforming, I even like the gimmicks, I like the 2D sections, I like everything about Sonic Colors. But yeah, I think Sonic Colors is a bit overhated by the fan base. We have a response by Scully who says Sonic Riders. It is actually peak and people do not understand that. Sonic Riders, the first one specifically, is one of the best Sonic games ever. Not even just racing game genre, like Sonic Riders is low-key a 10 out of 10. Like that game is a masterpiece. Now, I want to clarify, masterpiece does not mean perfect, it just means master class of work. It's not a perfect game, but it is a 10 out of 10, alright? The biggest issue with Sonic Riders is the fact that it has a huge skill curve. When you're getting into the game, it's really hard to get good at it because it's not really good at teaching you how to play it. But once you learn how to play Sonic Riders competently, I swear to you, this is one of the best racing games ever made, hands down. Sonic Riders is a masterpiece. It is a top 10 Sonic game. So good, man. I'm gonna talk about it one day, but Sonic Riders is peak fiction. It is so underrated. I see so many people just not giving it the respect it deserves. Even the critics slept on it, man. It's so good. You guys just don't see it. Our next response by Snock says Sonic 1, the Origins version specifically. I think the game stands toe-to-toe with the other classics. It's perfect length, not too long, not too short. Level design is great too. Most levels can be beaten pretty fast on repeat playthroughs. It's kinda like a really long arcade game. You know, I kinda agree with you because I used to not like Sonic 1 that much because I felt like Labyrinth Zone and Marble Zone were just not that fun of levels. And you know, I've come to appreciate it over the past year. It's still not as good as the other classic Sonic games. I still think Sonic 2 and beyond is just way better in my opinion. But Sonic 1 isn't as bad as I thought. It still has first game syndrome, but you know, Labyrinth and Marble, they're bad levels, but it's not ruining the game, you know? Green Hill and Starlight Zone are good enough zones that I can enjoy the game from just those two levels alone. In fact, I feel like Sonic 1 is overrated in terms of critics. In the fan base, nobody really cares about Sonic 1, nobody ever talks about that game, but the critics love that game. Because of course it was groundbreaking, it was influential, it was the Sonic game that was actually good. So in that aspect, it's overrated, but in terms of the fan base, yeah, I kind of see it as underrated in a way. I wouldn't say too underrated, like this isn't Sonic CD or Sonic Lost World, but it's underrated. Okay, this one is a crazy one by Maxis Derivative. We have Sonic Blast. I don't totally get why so many people don't like this game. I guess it's because they look at the game and say, wow, this game looks like ass, and leave it at that without giving it a fair shot. Honestly, for the Game Gear, Sonic Blast is impressive graphically. You see, this is the kind of takes I wanted to see because I've never heard of someone who likes Sonic Blast. I didn't know you guys existed out there. And from that, you can guess that I probably don't like the game, which is true. I don't like it. In fact, I'm willing to bet that you watching this video does not like this game. I just don't like how slow it is. It's choppy. The level design is boring. The game is not fun at all. I just don't have fun with it. And personally, it's probably one of the worst video games I have ever played. But, you know, I'll give some credit to you. It is impressive that Sonic Blast is running on a Game Gear. Granted, it barely runs, but like, it's running, alright? They got it on a Game Gear. The game console that lags even with 8-bit Sonic. So, yeah, it is impressive. It's impressive, just like how Triple Trouble is impressive, but I don't like either game, so I mean, impressive does not equal good to me. For our next response, we have Blandis Rice. He says, Sonic Rush in Sonic Rush Adventure. They may not play like classic Sonic, but I feel like they're near perfect implementations of Boost in 2D. The music is excellent and the visuals are vibrant and clean. I, in fact, agree. Sonic Rush and Sonic Rush Adventure are fantastic Sonic games. The Boost gameplay in these games games are fantastic, it's incredibly addicting, and all of the levels slap. There's not many sleepers in either of these games. The level designers were on their game. In my personal opinion, I feel like Sonic Rush is the better game, but Rush Adventure is a close second. I feel like Rush Adventure is better for getting into Sonic Rush because it's the easier game, has the easier level design. But once you get good at the game, the first Sonic Rush is the better one. But here's the thing, I think this game is underrated, but not in terms of quality. I never see anyone calling these games bad Sonic games. In fact, whenever anyone talks about them, they talk about how good they are. I think the reason why it's underrated is because nobody talks about them. They're fantastic Sonic games, but nobody ever speaks about them. Nobody has played them. But people who have played these games, they know how good these games are. So yeah, if you're watching this video and you haven't played these games, go check it out, man. Download an emulator and go play them. For our next response, we have Mythical Gold saying Sonic 06. While it is true that it wasn't finished, people don't talk about the actual gameplay, instead bashing it for the glitches and story, which isn't even bad. I knew somebody would say Sonic 06 because Sonic 06 is that game that most people hate, but there's a lot of people who love this game. And I'll say that I have a guilty pleasure with the game. I do like certain aspects of the game, and I think the soundtrack is fantastic. I like the level design. I like the gameplay. Project 06 is an example that the game could have been great if finished. But is it a good game? No, not really. I wish Sega finished it. But this guy says something interesting. He says the story isn't bad. What? Again, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but that story was terrible in my opinion. I felt like it was all over the place. Sonic is so unimportant in his own game. Shadow and Silver are the one doing all the heavy lifting. And to the game's credit, Shadow's story is pretty good. I like Shadow's character arc that he has from beginning to end. It's a fun time. I just thought the story was incredibly inconsistent. And Elise is one of the most boring and forgettable characters ever. She is a character that cries and never has any authority at all. Save me, I'm the princess. That's all it is. It's not interesting. But I don't know, maybe there's something about Sonic 06's story that I'm not quite getting. For our next one by Awesome, we have Sonic CD, with the same reason as the one you said in your video. I'm not gonna speak on the subject because I'd just be repeating the same stuff I said in that video, so too long didn't read is that Sonic CD is amazing. 10 out of 10 Sonic game, it is the most misunderstood Sonic game, absolute masterpiece. I love it. For the next response, we have the Acid Comet 1 with Sonic Unleashed. The game was overhated from critics in 2008 because of the Hedgehog and the failure of Sonic 06. I agree, Sonic Unleashed is the GOAT, the best Sonic game, alright? The critics misjudged it. It should have got a 99 on Metacritic. You know, I could go on about why Sonic Unleashed is underrated and the best Sonic game and why the critics, you know, were wrong and why it's a good Sonic game, but like, I talk about Sonic Unleashed so much on this channel, I think I'm just gonna move on. For the last response today, we have Lucas with Shadow the Hedgehog. To keep my thoughts in short, fun and unique gameplay, gunplay, and mission styles. Amazing theming, one of, if not the best OST in the franchise with god-tier vocal themes. And in some moments, it has a somewhat profound story to me. To start off, I'm not a big fan of this game. I feel like I've said that a million times in this video. Maybe I'm not a Sonic fan. Maybe I hate Sonic. I don't know what's going on. I also don't like the story at all, and I feel like the way it's structured is not good at all. To me, Shadow the Hedgehog is like a worse version of Sonic Heroes, a game that I already do not like. But I liked it as a child, just like Sonic Heroes, so maybe there was something there. One thing I will say about this tweet is that they are spitting with the soundtrack. The soundtrack for this game is a bop. The vocal themes are fantastic. I don't care if it's edgy, it is great. It's okay to enjoy a bit of edgy music. It's not against the law. You can love it. I love it. I'm not afraid to admit that all of these vocal themes are bangers. It's just facts, okay? There's nothing wrong with spitting facts. And with that said, we're going to end off the video right there. Tell me down below what you think is the most underrated Sonic game in terms of fan base or critics. I had a lot of fun making this video, just reading over your guys' thoughts and giving my thoughts. And if you guys want to see more content like this, let me know and I'll see what I can do. Anyways, with that said, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Anyways, I love you guys. I'll see you very soon. Peace out. My channel members are Snack Pigeon, Senpai Casey Literature, Neil, Scully, AHS, Francis T218, Slackman715, 3monic, Archer XYZ, Pie Studios, Bananas, Junion Rings, Chip Chap Chop, The Squeaker Nerd, Super Shags Boom, and Super Saiyan Sonic. Thank you all for supporting my channel. Make sure to click one of the in-card screen videos here. Love you guys. I'll see you very soon. Peace out.